Good evening. Welcome to the latest live edition, first one of 2024 of Last Ball Boxing, proudly sponsored by LW Liftings and SC Travel. Tonight we're going to do a bit of a review of the 2023 year of boxing. So we're going to cover a range of topics and hopefully get some dialogue from people viewing the channel. So to take you through some of the topics we're going to cover, I'll hand over to Ander. Good evening, Ander, and I'll hand over to you.
Happy New Year, pal. How are you?
Yeah, all good, all good.
Right, yeah, so being the first show of the year, mate, there's not a lot of boxing on this weekend. So we thought we'd do a little bit of a review of 2023, talk about some hot topics in boxing at the minute, things that are popping up on social media, and also this weekend there is a fight over in the States. Virgil Ortiz headlines with O'Hara Davis on the undercard against Barros, which looks really good. So there's quite a few things we can be covering this week. Let's get a lot of comments in the sidebar for some of the stuff we're going to be talking about. We might talk about best fight of the year and bits and bobs like that, trainer of the year, promoter of the year, that kind of thing. So mate, it looks like it's just you and me tonight. I think Daz is stuck in the gym, training away as he does. So it looks like it's just the ugly two.
Speak for yourself.
Right, okay. I think we'll start, mate. I've seen this has really disappointed me. Seen something on social media yesterday, and I had to comment on it. And I wouldn't normally comment because it's surrounding Amanda Serrano, and I'm a really big fan, mate. I think she's very respectful normally. She does a lot of good things for boxing, especially female boxing. She's been a real shining light when it comes to female boxing, as we'll talk about a bit later in the show. But something's happened on her social media yesterday, or I saw it yesterday anyway, and that is that she's put a tweet out of a bit of a spar, a video clip of a spar, where she drops this girl in sparring, and clearly it hurts this girl because she's down, she's winded, she can't get a breath. And whoever's filming goes right up to this girl's face. Now, people get dropped in sparring all the time, right?
Yeah.
Why does Amanda Serrano, who's a 7-weight world champion, feel the need to put something like that out on a social media? I think it's very disrespectful to the girl that she's sparring. The likelihood of this is a girl on the up. It's not likely to be a big world champion, is it? It's likely to be somebody on the up, someone that's helping out in the gym. Might even be a stablemate. Why would she put that out? Why would she do that? It's so disrespectful. And I basically, mate, I had to reply. I kind of went back and said, look, why have you done that? It just seems so far out of character for her.
Maybe though she's got a social media management team, because you don't all sit there tapping away on the social media all day, do you? Especially someone Serrano's standing.
Maybe, mate, but then she needs to really consider if she's got managing the social media, don't she? Because if they think that's something that's good.
I'm just saying the thought that these boxers are going to be on social media sorting all their accounts out. No, not for me.
No, it's not great. I mean, I did notice that on the social media that I was on, it was X, Twitter. Someone had actually beat me to the punch and said this is not good. It's not a good look. And if it was her or whoever runs her account, they replied to it by basically saying, I put it out there because you can't see the girl's face. What does that matter? Shouldn't put it out anyway.
No.
What happens to what happens in the gym stays in the gym.
Yeah.
It seems to be a bit of a craze at the minute, mate, where people keep mysteriously appearing on social media from gyms around the world.
A lot of them are exposure hungry, aren't they? They feel they've got to post controversial stuff on social media to get some traction. That's the truth of it.
I understand. Yeah, well, I get that for a lot of people, but Amanda Serrano is not one of those people. Like I've just said, she's normally very respectful. she's a shining light for female boxing. Look at, she's the first female boxer to do 12 3-minute rounds. And she's pushing for that for her fights going forward, which I respect completely. It's her choice. If she feels like she wants to do that and her opponents do, great. You know, why should it be any different for females if they feel like they can do it? So she does a lot of good things, and I feel like this has set her back a little bit. I just don't like it, mate. It's a very bad look.
Yeah, there's no such thing as bad PR as well, to be honest. I know it's distasteful, but it gets her headlines in columns.
Well, she don't need headlines, mate. She's a 7-weight world champion.
Well, you know, someone's decided somewhere it needs posting, so.
Well, yeah, well, I think it's very bad taste. Anyway, moving on, mate. Let's talk about the fight that's happening this weekend in the States. So over in Vegas, there's a Golden Boy promotion show headlined by Victor Ortiz Jr., which has also got Hara Davis on the card. And obviously, we're picking this up because Hara Davis is on it. But we'll start with the headliner, mate. Very strange, this. Victor Ortiz Jr., he was a bit of a monster at welterweight. And then he's gone through a period of time of being so inactive. The last time he fought was August 2022 against Michael Mickinson.
Yeah.
He put in a really good performance against Mickinson that night. Stopped him, didn't he? Yeah. But then, I know he had a bit of an injury, but to be out for so long, and now he's moved up weight. So has he had a bit of a problem with his weight and he can't make welter anymore? I mean, for the last couple of years, I've been wanting to see Victor Ortiz against Boots Ennis like everybody else. Doesn't look like that's going to happen now at welterweight. I thought these two were going to be the shining light going forward. You know, they were going to take over from Crawford and Spence. I thought, you know, they were going to be the next.
We've said it before regarding American fighters where they just don't get out enough. You know, no. It seems like it's an issue in the States. Whether it's like you've said in previous shows, going to get paid far too much money for bang average fights. Don't know, but they don't seem to have the appetite to want to get out regular, like Canelo does. You know, Canelo's linked normally to an American promoter. I know he jumped around a little bit, but if Ortiz wants to get out, this fight's there for him, I'd imagine. So it's a strange one.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course there is. He's 19 and 0, Cole, with 19 KOs. You know, he should be one of the massive stars in the States. He's in a very sexy. Well, he was in a very sexy division, the welterweight division, with some real big fighters in.
He hasn't crossed over yet, has he? Like Canelo into superstardom. If he walked down the street in Texas, yeah.
No, I mean, let's have it right, Carl. Although we all think he's one of the best in the division, who's he actually fought?
Yeah.
World level.
Yeah.
No one yet. And you can argue Boots Ennis hasn't either.
Yeah.
Although we all think he's the best, you know. And now he's moving up weight, so I don't really know what's going on, mate. Unless this is just a one-off.
You can't criticise Devin Haney for, can you? Because he jumps.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, you can't criticise Crawford for it. He does exactly the same. So does Canelo. Yeah, just these younger breed, mate. They seem to be getting paid far too much, far too quickly, and it takes the hunger away.
Yeah.
But maybe this is a one-off. Maybe this is him getting, after being out for a year and a half. Maybe this is his way of getting back in. He's coming in at a weight above, which is only £7, and maybe he'll be back at welterweight. I might be misjudging it. It might be the fact that he's just coming back from, you know, this is a tune-up. Even though this kid he's in with is no mug.
No.
Frederick Lawson is no mug, mate. 33-0 with 22 KOs. He's not got any massive names on his record either, but you know, with that sort of amount of KOs, it's not a walk in the park fight. So I'd be interested to see how it goes out. But the card the fight that we want to see on the card is a Hara Davis, Ismael Barroso. And we all know Ismael Barroso from his fight with Anthony Crolla back in 2016, where Crolla stopped him in the 7th. Interesting, really, mate. He's another one of these fighters that you seem to see a lot of. He fights, but when he goes in with the very best, he comes a little bit unstuck.
Yeah, he got beat. He got as well, didn't he?
He got beat by Akhmedov as well in 2018, and his last fight was against Rolly Romero, who stopped him in the 9th. So it looks as though he's one of these fighters that's great to start with, but when a pressure fighter puts it on him, he don't seem to last. So I'm interested to see how.
I don't think O'Hara Davis gets him out of there, though. He's obviously a southpaw, you know, so it's going to be a good test for O'Hara Davis, especially a heart check.
Yeah, well, if you look at O'Hara Davis's record, mate, he's probably his best win would be Tyrone McKenna in 2020.
He fought Lewis Ritson, didn't he?
Last time out, March, he fought Ritson, but that was a shadow of Ritson, mate.
Well,
that's not world level, is it?
Ritson has never been world level, Ritson. He found his level, didn't he?
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a knock.
No.
There's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. But if O'Hara Davis has got aims to being a world champion, I know. I mean, Barros is probably a step up, but we're talking about a fighter now that's coming to the end of his career, I'd say. He's been in a lot of hard fights, Barros. Sorry, Barroso. I keep saying Barros.
Yeah,
he's been in some hard fights. Davis might be catching him at the right time. I mean, to be fair to O'Hara Davis, he's only lost against the best. Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor.
Yeah.
They're the only 2 losses he's got on his record. Again, he's one of these fighters, though, that kind of went missing for a couple of years and no one saw anything of him.
Well,
which was a little bit strange.
He had a lot of problems, didn't he, outside the ring, let's be honest. You could argue Eddie Hearn did him no favours either. He made a few stupid comments that he's obviously regretted. So, you know, to be fair to him, he slid right down the hole of boxing and he's worked his way back up to give us some points. Yeah,
you got to give him credit, mate. Because he has come back from nowhere. I mean, so like you say, there's a couple of the comments were very silly. Put that down to a bit of inexperience. Put that down to being
ill-advised.
Put under a bit of pressure on. Well, put under a little bit of pressure.
He was a young lad, didn't really know what he was talking about, and I think from listening to him, there's 2 sides to every story. Obviously, I won't name names, but it sounds like he was very ill-advised.
Maybe, mate. But if it's the interview, I think you're talking about, the person that he's trying to accuse has come out and said that it's a load of rubbish. So
we'll never know.
No,
it's what you know. But to be fair, the person that he accused wouldn't admit that, would it? Because it'd be career suicide.
No.
So
no, very true.
We'll never know.
So let's have a prediction out of you then, Cole. Davis versus Barroso.
I think Davis will win, but I can see it going to points because Barroso is a tough man, and I don't think O'Hara carries that much power to stop him. So I'm going to go convincing points win for O'Hara Davis.
Yeah, I don't like to agree with you, Cole, as you know, but I'm going to have to on this one. I agree with you. O'Hara's not the biggest puncher in the division, so I think it goes points as well, and I think he probably sneaks a points win. It's a good little test for him though to see where he's at.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be close. I think he'll be wide. Yeah, I think he wins.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well, that's where we differ a little bit then, mate.
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing I wanted to bring up, mate, was the rumours going around. As you're well aware, Beterbiev fights Callum Smith next weekend. Not this weekend, coming the weekend after. Over in Canada, really, really good fight. I mean, we can maybe do a quick prediction on that in a bit, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was the rumours going around that Beterbiev and Bivol has been signed for Saudi Arabia. Apparently, it's already done and dusted. I mean, this is, in my opinion, completely disrespectful to Callum Smith. And maybe Beterbiev's taking his eye off the ball a little bit here. What's your thoughts on the fact that if this is true, the rumours that are going around, if this is true, then they've already signed the fight? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Buddy McGirt has had a bit of a touch because he's not going to have to give a pep talk to Callum Smith whatsoever. You know, if Callum Smith wasn't fired up enough to go into this fight, he will be now. I find it disrespectful. I think the North Americans and the world of boxing are sleeping on Callum Smith a little bit. You know, and I think you're going to see the best version of Callum Smith. And I think he beats Beterbiev. I've seen enough in the yard fight. And I've been saying it for a while that A, I don't think he's as good as people say he is. And B, I think he's on the slide. So he's catching a fresh Callum Smith. So I think Callum Smith is going to stop him late.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you, mate. Whether Beterbiev is on the slide or not, I don't know. But like you say, there's enough in that yard fight, which is a very, very good fight, by the way. There's enough in that yard fight to tell you that you can get to Beterbiev. And Callum Smith, in my opinion, is a much more clinical puncher and a much more clinical finisher than Yard. Had Yard been a better finisher, he might have stopped Beterbiev in that fight because he had him in trouble at times.
Yeah,
he's a real tough man, though. You gotta be on him, and you gotta be landing clean to get him out of there. But in my opinion, Callum's got to knock him out to win the fight, mate. Because you don't want it to be going to points away like that, especially in his hometown.
No, I agree. But this could be a coming out fight for Callum Smith. And then it may lead to, obviously, it probably lead to a Bivol fight. And eventually maybe a Canelo fight. In terms of the
It definitely leads to the...
Go on.
It definitely leads to the Bivol fight, mate. Undisputed will be made regardless of who wins. But the fact that they've already determined by themselves, apparently, that Beterbiev's going to win the fight and they've already signed the deal is bang out of order. I mean, Bivol's not going to care who he fights because he'll believe he beats either of them.
I think he does. I think he beats either of them. But, I mean, let's have it right. It's not the first time fights have been agreed. Let's talk about Wilder versus AJ. That was all signed and sealed.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's only a piece of paper. So I think they've scored an own goal. I think if I was Buddy McGirt, I'd be showing Callum Smith that contract, saying, look, they think you've got no chance. Go out there and rip that belt from him.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be he's going to be a 3 belt holder, light heavyweight 3 belt holder, come the end of the night, 2 weeks time. Absolutely.
It's interesting that it's on Sky Sports, isn't it, in the UK?
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to bring up, mate. I don't really understand that, if I'm honest.
Well, Beterbiev's a top-ranked fighter, right? So
okay.
top-ranked got the deal with Sky.
I didn't realise that, mate. I should have made that connection. I didn't do.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is another sign. I say it a lot, but this is another sign that Eddie Hearn's not putting his faith in Callum Smith. He should be pushing for that to be on.
Well,
for that to be on the zone.
It could have been a dual broadcast, couldn't there? If you wanted them on it.
It's a massive fight, mate. Why not?
Yeah, especially for the Canadians, because obviously Beterbiev now, resides in Canada. So I'd imagine you get some decent view figures from Canada. You'll pick up some in America, obviously. I mean, I would say the North Americans and Canadians better enjoy these fights, because I think these sort of level of fights are going to Saudi Arabia in the not too near future, in my opinion.
Yeah, completely agree, mate. Right, let's move on to the caption that we've got on the bottom of the screen that we've had on from the start, which is a little bit of a quick review of 2023. We're not going to go into this in depth. I'm always a little bit weary about doing these, mate, because you always remember the fights from the latter part of the year. You forget about, it's very easy to forget about fights and fighters and what's happened at the early part of the year. So don't everybody that watches this after this show jump on us about, oh, you forgot about this, or you forgot about that. We'll forget about a lot of people and we'll forget about a lot of fights because, it's not always easy to remember everything. So one that you wanted to pick up on, Cole, was who do you think has had the best year promotion-wise out of the three promoters in the UK? So obviously you've got Ben Shalom and Boxer on Sky, you've got Eddie Hearn with Matchroom on DAZN, and you've got Frank Warren with Queensberry on TNT Sports.
Do you want me to go?
Yes, mate.
I'm going for Frank Warren on this one. I think obviously he broke the Saudi Arabia deal. Obviously he took Zhang versus Joyce. He ran that a couple of times. Tyson Fury's fights. And I think Frank might have just picked it. Daniel Dubois, against Usyk, he delivered that. And I think about Eddie Hearn. I know he got the Katie Taylor's fights. I'm surprised of myself by saying this, but when I give it just off the cuff thought, I think Uncle Frank might have pulled some of that gap back this year. Obviously, the Saudi Arabia deal, the card he delivered at the end of the year. Not that that's my entire reason for picking him, but what a deal that was. He even brought Eddie Hearn into his deal. And then the little things like the Telford, very old school, Liam Davis building him up, Telford fighter going to Telford, filling the arenas there. I hear the Lee Wood argument. Eddie Hearn's done a great job with Lee Wood, but in its entirety, I'm going to go for Frank.
Okay. I'm a little bit surprised that you've come out with that, but I see now you put your argument across why you're saying that. Overall, mate, it's difficult to argue against what you've said, to be honest. The only thing with Frank Warren for me is he doesn't like coming out of London. In fact, he hates it. He's got his little patch in Telford, but that's it. Where else does he go? Where else does he ever put shows on?
But Hearn only goes to Manchester as a rule, don't he? Hearn doesn't spread his...
No, not really. He does Liverpool, he does Nottingham, he does Manchester, he does Leeds, he does London, he does Newcastle. Matchroom have always gone everywhere in the country. Frank Warren never does.
I think Matchroom has spread themselves that little bit thin and took the eye off the ball in the UK. Especially in the UK.
I have to agree. I have to agree with you. It looks as though they've concentrated all the money on fights abroad. Even the cards that have happened in the UK, they've not been as stacked as they normally would be under Matchroom.
Let's not forget, Andy. Eddie Hearn did go to Saudi Arabia and strike a deal, but then Frank Warren struck a deal with the more influential part of Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
You can't argue against that, mate. And quite clearly, if Wilder had done his job on the 23rd, we'd be seeing a massive fight. Coming, maybe March next year, we'd be seeing a gigantic fight. The fact that that's not happened, it's not down to anyone. It's not down to Warren. It's not down to Hearn. It's not down to AJ. It's just down to the fact that it is what it is. And that's what happens in boxing sometimes.
I felt a little shift in the power at the day of reckoning when you got Frank Warren. Came out last. I know this sounds ridiculous. At the centre of the press conference and had his man in Dev doing the questions. It was clearly his gig. So, and Eddie Hearn was part on that, wasn't there? Now you'd never have said that. And I just felt a bit.
Yeah. I agree with you, mate. And you've got to give credit to the fact that they both actually sat around the table. Now, don't get me wrong, it's taken Saudi money to do that. Don't let anybody fool you, mate. They haven't done this for the public, like Frank Warren tried to make out. They've done this to line the pockets, and it's taken Saudi money for it to happen. They've missed out on years and years and years of massive domestic fights because they can't put the egos to one side and say, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take it in turns. Your fighter come over and fight my fighter on my channel, and then one of my fighters will come over and fight your fighter on your channel.
Also,
but they can't do that.
Another thing about Warren, he brought Beterbiev over to London to fight Yard.
Yeah. I agree, mate. He's definitely in the last year.
I'm very
in the last year,
him, but you can't.
Yeah. In the last year, there's definitely been a significant shift. And he's clearly got into the ears of the Saudis, so he's doing something right. He's obviously got a bit of a friendship going on with Bob Arum at Top Rank as well, which helps. That helps make deals like the Beterbiev deal against Yard. It's going to be interesting to see how Eddie Hearn comes out fighting in the new year, mate. But I think all in all, I have to agree. I have to agree with you. I wasn't going to say that. I was actually going to say Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, but now you've come with that argument. I can't disagree. I don't think.
And it'll be interesting. To see it'll be interesting to see where we are this time next year when he's had a year to work with the Saudis. Obviously, the Saudis, it's a Riyadh event that they're interested in, obviously, but there's going to be some massive fights next year.
Huge. Obviously, starting off with the Tyson.
I wouldn't be surprised if we're not sat here this time next year talking about Tyson Fury versus AJ that's just happened. Yeah.
Well, there's a very good chat. Well, I actually think it'll happen in 2025, mate. I think Fury Usyk will be a 2-fight deal, and I think they'll only fight twice. Them two. I don't think they'll fight. I think they'll fight. Is it Feb? Did you say, or March that fight's been signed for?
I think it's late Feb. I actually do think it'll happen on the 23rd of December, somewhere a bit similar to this year.
I'm not sure, mate. I don't see. I think you'll get the first Fury fight against Usyk, and then whoever loses will automatically get the rematch. And I don't think that'll happen in the summer. I only think they'll fight twice a year. I think you might get it in like October, something like that, which will stop the fight happening in December. But I do think the winner of that fight will fight AJ, though. Especially if AJ comes out with another massive fight.
Well, AJ's going to go down the IBF route and fight Ergovic into. So that's one fight.
It's looking that way. Because then that'll make. I mean, that makes sense because that makes him mandatory then.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go for who do you think is the best? Who do you think has been the best male fighter of the year 2023? We'll go for world fighter first, and then we'll do domestic afterwards.
I'm going to go for Lee Wood. And people say I'm biased, but I'm not. I think.
Is that domestic or world?
I'm going to give him props and go for world. Because
are you really?
I think the props he deserves for Lara. He jumped straight back in with him.
Yep.
So-called killer that was all being told he was. Lara comes in overweight and he could have said, no, I'm not fighting him. I know it would have probably cost him his shot at the title, but he could have said no. But he jumps in with an overweight Lara and puts on an absolute clinic, and then jumps in with Josh Warrington. And although he was losing the fight, does a number on him as well. I'll go for Lee Wood, and I'll probably get slated for that on socials, but I think I've set out my stall quite well.
I agree. Lee Wood is definitely the domestic fighter of the year. No shadow of a doubt. Definitely the UK Fighter of the Year, mate. He's fought three times this year. What world champion fights 3 times a year?
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you. Definitely
Crawford's
domestic fighter of the year.
Crawford's right up there as well, Andy, because obviously he jumped in with the best and took care of him. I think he only fought once, though, did he?
Yeah, so I put a mark against Crawford for that reason. Yeah, he's clearly pound for pound one of the best in the world, mate. But he did only fight once a year against an absolutely shot Spence.
And then
absolutely shot Spence.
Devin Haney would be up there as well. Thinking names are coming to me now. Devin Haney would have to be up there.
So I've got Devin Haney and Inoue as my 2 fighters, and I'm struggling. I'm struggling to split the 2, to be honest. I mean, Devin Haney's gone up and done a job at the next weight up as well. It's difficult to argue against him, mate. I mean, he's doing things at his age that he shouldn't be doing, and he's looking like a veteran of the sport already. You know, he's very, very young 20s.
He's elite, isn't there? Simple. He's elite.
Oh yeah. And so's Inoue. I want to see Inoue come and fight over in this part of the world, to be honest, or fight in the States. Or there's an argument you can argue that Inoue doesn't have a big enough profile outside of the Asia continent.
He's probably getting there though.
Real boxing fans know him, mate. But if you asked an average Joe boxing fan that watches the odd show here and there, they won't even know who Inoue is.
But wasn't it Paul Butler that he fought? He can't be jumping in with the likes of Paul Butler, can he?
Well, no, it is what it is, though, mate. I mean, he's fought twice this year and done an absolute number on the 2 fighters he was in with. So,
although it's not his fault. It's not his fault what his division looks like, though, as well. So
no, that's right, and he's going to move up, and he'll probably dominate at the next weight. I'm struggling to split Inoue and Haney. I'm probably going to just go with Inoue. Put in my boxing brain on rather than fan brain. I'm just going to go with Inoue. I think he has absolutely everything, mate. The only thing with Haney, and the one thing that I don't think Haney has, is power. He don't need it,
no,
because he's dealing with everybody without it. But there will come a point where a bit of power to stop an absolute elite fighter coming at him will come in handy, and that's the one thing that I think he misses. But he's still growing, mate. He might grow into that and get some. We'll see. Right, that's the male division out of the way. So we'll go for female fighter of the year, world fighter of the year, and then female domestic fighter of the year.
I've got the same one here as well. So I'm going to go Chantel Cameron. I know she got beaten in the last fight, but I still think she'll come back and avenge that in the 3rd fight. So I'm going to go Chantel Cameron. Other names are in there. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because to put someone in that pigeonhole was quite difficult. You got Katie Taylor, she would have to be up there. Serrano would have to be up there. Natasha Jonas had done nothing wrong. She would have to be up there. Yeah.
So the names I've written down. The names I've written down for the same reason as you is Chantel Cameron.
Yeah.
She went and beat Katie Taylor in her own backyard. And then before that, she went and beat McCaskill at the weight above, and destroyed her. And now she's, and this fight that's just happened, mate. Let's not rewrite the record books. Katie Taylor had it all her own way.
Yeah.
She should have, she should have been pulled up for headbutting. She should have been. The ref didn't really do his job. Now, don't get me wrong. That's the best performance I've seen in Katie Taylor's career.
Yeah. And
she's done it at the very end of her career when, I'll be honest, I wasn't giving her a prayer in that fight. But I agree with you. I think Chantel was slightly off the pace. And the next time she won't make that mistake, and I think she'll do a number on Katie Taylor next time round.
Far better than Katie Taylor. She's far better than her.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. At this point in Katie Taylor's career, I agree. I've also got Amanda Serrano though, because the girl's a 7-weight world champion.
Yeah.
She's made history by being the first female fighter to fight three 12-minute rounds. Everyone's been talking about it for years, mate. No one's done anything about it. She has.
Yeah.
And she's now come out and said if she gets stripped for wanting to do it, then they strip her. But she wants to fight all of her fights at 3-minute rounds. Can't blame her for that. I hope she gets what she wants. She deserves it, mate, for what she's done for boxing over the years. So she's right up there. It's a split for me, world fighter. It's a split for me between those two. I think.
What about Shields? I know we don't like her antics outside sometimes, but
she's not been active enough for me, mate.
I think she's still done what's asked of her, hasn't she? Still up there.
She's done what? But she's. You can't be talking about fighting MMA fights and then boxing, then MMA, then boxing. You know. No. I'm sticking with what I'm saying. I'm sticking with Serrano, just pipping Cameron for the fighter of the year this year. Domestically, I've put 2 names down. So I've put Ellie Scottney, who I think is doing wonders. She's had 2 world title fights this year. I think she's grown massively, mate, in a very short space of time. And I've also put Sandy Ryan.
Yeah,
Sandy Ryan had 2 world title fights this year. She won the world title. She won her world title, and then she went to unify against McCaskill and got absolutely robbed.
Yeah,
she should be a 3-belt unified champion going into a fight for unified. And it's just not happening because she got ripped off. Now Jessica McCaskill's gone off and signed another fight to fight one of the other belt holder. I can't remember her name now. It slipped my mind. So she's completely dismissed Sandy Ryan as a fight, even though in the ring she said she would give Sandy Ryan an immediate rematch. I'm really disappointed, and I feel very sorry for Sandy Ryan because she did absolutely nothing wrong in that fight. She clearly won the fight easily. The authorities should have demanded that fight be rerun. But this is just what boxing's all about these days, mate.
Yeah.
And people that deserve it don't seem to get it. So I hope Sandy Ryan comes out swinging and clears the division up next year. Let's see. So I'm split between the 2, and I think I'm finding it hard to. I'm not holding it against Sandy Ryan, mate. She won that fight hands down. I'm going for Sandy Ryan, domestic fighter of the year. Okay, here's one that is going to be really difficult to judge, and that is trainer of the year. So, give you a couple of seconds to think about it, mate. I know I'm throwing them at you, and you've not had any time to do any sort of looking back, and because, like I say, it's hard, isn't it? You forget what trainers and what fighters did earlier on in the year, and you seem to remember what the last.
Mine's Jamie Moore.
Yeah, you can't argue that. Brilliant stuff with
Chantal Cameron, Jack Cattrall.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff with them.
Proper solid.
Yeah, I can't disagree, mate. He's right up there. He's one of the names I've written down as well. I've also wrote down Shane McGuigan. He's trained too.
I think Moore's had a better year this year than McGuigan.
Well, McGuigan's trained and won 2 world titles under 2 fighters this year, mate. He's also won domestic. He's also won domestic belts. He's also won domestic belts with other fighters.
He's got a bigger stable than Moore, hasn't he?
He has. Yeah, he has. He's got a lot of other fighters going on. I completely agree with you there. It's difficult to not throw Ben Davison in the mix.
Yeah.
With what he's done with Lee Wood this year, I mean, a lot of trainers would have turned around to Lee Wood and gone, after that Laura knockout, no, we need some time off. But Ben Davison stuck to his guns, stuck to the plan. He knew that the plan would work if Lee Wood could pull it off and not get caught, which is exactly what happened in that second fight.
And he got
then they had
AJ in a short time as well.
Right, exactly. I was just about to say that as well, mate. We're seeing it's night and day with AJ. It's a completely different fighter, and from the first jab he threw in that fight on the 23rd, it was the old AJ.
I have got a little caveat to that though, because Wallin let him do what he wanted basically. I'd be interested to see what happens when he gets in with a more fluid fight.
But okay, all right. Let me counter that then. I forgot the name of the fighter. Who did he fight before Wallin?
Who, AJ?
Yeah, can't remember his name.
Gone for me as well.
The fellow that Wilder knocked out in a round. The point I'm trying to make is that AJ could have done exactly the same thing against him, but he didn't. And do you know why he didn't? Because that wasn't trained in him. He didn't have the right tactics from the right trainer. Ben Davison comes along, has 2 or 3 months with him, and he's a completely different fighter, mate. Completely different fighter because
Robert Elenius.
Yeah. So Elenius stood off him, allowed him to do what he wanted as well. But AJ didn't implement it. AJ could have dealt with Elenius quicker than he dealt with Wallin.
I'd just like to see him in with just before we all get a bit excited about having the old AJ back, someone who's going to put it on AJ. Let's see what happens when someone lands on him.
I hear what you're saying, mate. But I hear what you're saying, but clearly, it's clear to see that his shape's different, his attitude's different, his tactics are different, his boxing.
Why do you still talk about possibly going back to Derek James then in Texas?
Well, then in my opinion, mate, it's only my opinion. I mean, what do I know? But I think that's a massive mistake. Why would you do that when you've just spent a few months with Ben Davison and you've pulled out the best performance you've had in years and years and years, and you've looked the best you've looked in years and years and years? Why would you do that? I don't get it. I don't know, mate. Maybe he's edging his bets. Maybe he's edging his bets to see what happens. But I don't know. He's maybe trying to not be disrespectful to Derek James. I don't know, mate.
Don't get me wrong. This isn't me saying he hasn't changed AJ. He clearly has. But Ben Davis is only as good as a fighter. I'm just curious to see what happens when someone puts it on AJ. That's all. Yeah,
well, yeah, no, I hear you, mate, and it's a difficult one, like I said. I'm going with Shane McGuigan. I understand your argument with Jamie Moore, and I could have very easily gone with Jamie Moore. But yeah, I'm going with Shane McGuigan. I think he's doing wonders in that gym. He's made 2 world champions in Ellie Scottney and Chris Callum Smith. So yeah, wonders, mate. So yeah, props to him. Props to the McGuigan gym. Props to Barry McGuigan as well for being around the camp, and I'm sure putting his experience in there as well. Okay. Here's one that is really difficult to say. And that's fight of the year. So I'll let you think about it in a minute, and I'll give you the 2 male fights of the year that pop into my head. And like I say, people will be screaming when they watch this to say, "Oh, you forgot this, or you forgot that, forgot the other." I forgot loads. The two that excited me that I thought were brilliant fights were Beterbiev against Yard. That had everything. It swung both ways. Yard was very, very brave in that fight. I thought it was a brilliant fight, mate. Difficult to go against that. And then the other one is Munguia against Derevianchenko. That was an absolutely outstanding fight. Again, one that a lot of... No, not for me. Not for me.
Yeah, that had me on the edge of my seat, that did. Genuinely. Because Wood could always pull it out the fire. I hear what you're saying, but that fight wasn't. It didn't have enough to and fro for me. I think, and you can say I'm wrong in saying this, but I think maybe the fact that you're a Nottingham boy, a big Lee Wood fan, probably is the reason why you were on the edge of your seat, because you know what Lee Wood's capable of. If you was talking about another fighter in the same fight, you wouldn't be making that fight of the year, I don't think. Maybe.
So it's a really difficult one, I know, and I'll have missed millions of fights, mate. That everyone will be shouting at, saying, "Oh, you know, you could have." So I'm going to go with one of those two that I've said. I think female fight of the year. I've gone for Taylor Cameron 1.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I thought that was an absolutely outstanding fight.
Yeah.
And the last one, upset of the year.
Well, I would probably go Parker against Deontay Wilder, because no one gave Parker, including me, a chance. Yeah, nobody gave him a chance. So I'm going to go Deontay Wilder versus Joe Parker.
Yeah, that's a really good shout, isn't it? Trying to think who else.
Gary Cully, when he got beat, that was quite a shock.
Yeah, that was a massive shock. What about, okay, I've got one for you. Jordan Gill, Michael Conlan.
Yep, that's up there. Yep.
I'm going to go for that. I'm going to go for Jordan Gill, Michael Conlan.
I'm going
because Jordan Gill wasn't given a prayer in that fight. He was meant to be going over there as fodder, and he's changed his life around in that one fight, mate. Yeah, I think it's a massive story, so I'm going to go for that.
Yeah, I will stick with Parker, because I thought Parker was going to be a walking punch bag.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought that as well. And the fact that he wasn't, the fact he did what he did, he just didn't let Wilder set himself. He didn't allow Wilder. He did what I've said. Lots of fighters should do with Wilder, and that's put it on him, and because he cannot fight on the back foot. Yeah, very good tactics. Very good tactics. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Parker next, mate.
Yeah, I think you might.
That's the top. Yeah, potentially. That's the topics from me, mate. If you got anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, I think that covered it quite well. I think we're heading towards the 50-odd minute mark. I don't know if you got any other topics you want to talk about other than upsets. It's a bit quiet on the fight front, isn't it? You know, this early in the year. But obviously we'll be covering Callum Smith next week. Obviously we got some big news coming out in the next few weeks regarding visiting a certain gym, which I don't know about you, Andy, but I'm quite excited about.
Very, mate. I've got so much respect. Got so much respect for this gym and this trainer. And I know it's one that you've been at irons in the fire with trying to set this up for a while now, and it's finally happened. So it's going to be brilliant for us. It's going to be so much good experience, and it's going to be great to spend a bit of time with him.
And the fights.
We'll leave it at that. Absolutely, mate. Let's leave that where it is as a little bit of a teaser, because obviously the footage will drop once we've been to that gym, and looking forward to it, mate. Really am.
A couple of weeks yet, though, so it won't be any time soon. We're due up there back end of January. But all I'll say is one of the best trainers in the UK.
Absolutely agree. One of the best trainers, one of the best boxing brains, and basically a very, very straight talker. You get no bull. So it's going to be really good to see him in action. If we do get to see him, in the gym with his fighters, and then hopefully get a really good interview.
And then obviously you got the small hall scene opening up again, the Carl Greaves of this world, and it's a Shinfield gym. So obviously maybe some local shows, some interviews dropping, probably February, March time. So quite a packed beginning to 2024 for the channel. Thank you for all the subscribers. Thank you for all the comments in the side. Good evening, Jack. Feel free to jump on for the final little bit of the show if you want to talk about any highlights of 2023. But the channel's growing, and into it, it took a lot of hard work. We've got a lot of connections now in the boxing world. I'd like to go on record of thanking them. I'd like to thank our sponsors, SC Travel and LW Lifting, for their support. And onwards and upwards. So, Jack Gladman, do you want to jump on if I post a link? If not, we'll bring the show to a close. So,
come on, Jack, give us your highlights. Jump on, mate. Give us your highlights of 2023. For anyone that don't know, Jack,
is he still the youngest matchmaker? Is he still the youngest matchmaker?
Yeah, I think he is. For anyone that don't know, Jack Gladman's a matchmaker. Does a lot of good stuff on small hall.
Well, he told you he did a lot of good stuff. Yeah. Still waiting for our invites up to the northeast. I'll pick that up with him if he jumps on. Here we go.
Here he is.
You're right.
Hey, Jack. How are you, pal? Happy New Year, mate.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
So, Jack, you might want to sit down because you're making me feel a bit seasick.
Sorry, I've just got in my house and my dog's stolen my chair, so I'm kind of sat on the floor.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Jack, we've gone through a few things, and we'll get your views on them. So, I'll run through the list of what we've just spoke about. So, we've gone for, firstly, your UK Promoter of the Year for last year.
Are we talking the big ones, or are we talking?
Yeah. But the big three.
You're affiliated with some of these small old shows, but just break away from that for a minute.
No. I was asking because I wasn't sure where you were. Yeah, I'm still going to say Hearn. I think. I think Warren's closed the gap a lot, though. Yeah,
me and Carl, but you probably won't have seen it because you might with you only just jumping on. Me and Carl both went for Frank Warren on that.
Yeah, I can understand that. I still think Hearn, because I still think he was involved in some big nights and some big things, but overall, and I think a lot, and he did a lot globally, and he was involved in the whole Haney situation to get him to the undisputed fights. I know he didn't do the undisputed fight, and things like that. But yeah, Frank has definitely had a strong year this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. World Fighter of the Year, male World Fighter of the Year, and then male domestic Fighter of the Year, Jack.
World Fighter of the Year for me. I'm gonna. I really wanted to say Inoue, but I'm gonna still go with Crawford. I really want to
even though Crawford only fought once.
Yeah, I know he only fought once, but that performance against Spence was special. That was one of the best performances I've ever seen.
Okay. Male domestic Fighter of the Year, Jack. And when I say domestic, I don't necessarily mean domestic level, but English Fighter of the Year.
British Fighter.
Yeah, British Fighter of the Year, yeah.
Just for the level of and the good fights he had would probably be Wood this year. And I'm not saying that just because it's you two. I genuinely believe that. He's had a couple of decent high level fights this year. and they're fights that stick out in my mind.
We both picked Lee Wood as well, and everyone will say that we're being biased. I don't care, and I know
I have
Carl
no
don't care.
affiliation to him, do I? So,
No, I know you don't, mate. But I'd like anybody to argue with me. What other world champion fights 3 times a year?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, there was a lot of. I'm trying to think of one. I mean, Inoue, and that's it. Inoue had 3, didn't he?
Did he fight 3 times? Did he fight 3 times in 23?
Yeah.
I thought he only fought twice. Anyway, that's by the by.
I mean, he might have only fought twice actually. Yeah, but,
female world fighter of the year and female domestic fighter of the year. Then Jack.
World fighter of the year for me. Well, domestic for me has got to be Chantel Cameron for that Taylor fight. I think. World fighter of the year. This is hard. I don't know who I would go world fighter. I mean, there's an argument for it being Mayer, but I think I'm probably going to say Serrano just because there's nobody else really that jumps out at me.
Yeah. Yeah, I went Serrano.
I think Serrano because I think most of the major things have actually been domestic fights and the ones that I remember. So, and I think Serrano is outside of that the only one that really jumps out at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Trainer of the year. Proper putting you on the spot tonight, aren't I, mate?
I'm going to still say Jamie Moore. I always rate Jamie Moore, and I always will.
That's who I went with.
Yeah,
it is.
I think you're right on that, Carl. I think look at what he's done with Chantel and people like that. You know, it's just I don't think you see a Jamie Moore fighter ever get outclassed.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. It was a toss up. It was a toss up with me between Jamie Moore and Shane McGuigan. I think Shane McGuigan's had a very good year.
Yeah, McGuigan so I
went with Shane McGuigan, but I can see the argument for Jamie Moore, and he was on my list. It was a toss up too.
I could see the argument for Shane McGuigan. So
yeah, it's a toss up there for me.
Yeah.
Okay, fight of the year. So male fighter of the year, and then female fight of the year. Jack.
Male fight of the year. There's been some absolute flipping wars this year, isn't there?
Yeah, I put a bit of a disclaimer in there because I know we're going to get slaughtered for these because it's difficult, isn't it? I've already said to Carl, it's difficult. Your mind will always want to remember the things that happened in the latter half of the year. Yeah, there were loads, mate. I know.
I'm there's going to be one that I'll forget, and do you know what? I'll sit there and I'll be like, and do you know what? It's one of those like, and you sit there and you watch. I mean, I'm trying to think. What was the I'm trying to think what the big one was for me.
It's hard when you just put on the spot and you had time to think about it, isn't it, mate? I appreciate that.
Yeah, female one I think was Serrano Taylor, just the occasion. Taylor Cameron, because I think the occasion, the ring walks, everything just made your hair stand up on the back of your neck. I'm just trying to think. What would I say?
I'll tell you the two I've gone for.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the two I've gone for. I went for either Beterbiev against Yard because I thought that fight had everything.
Yeah.
Or Munguia against Derevianchenko. I thought was a brilliant fight.
Yeah, I had Munguia and Derevinchenko and the Spence Crawford one, but I probably would go with the Munguia one because we knew Spence Crawford was supposed to be what it was.
Yeah.
I think
I felt a bit
shortchanged.
I felt a bit shortchanged with Crawford and Spence because I think Spence was shot.
Well, that's my thing. I don't think Spence was the best version of Spence I've ever seen.
No.
It's the same as always felt like shortchanged with Brooke Khan because it wasn't Brooke Khan in a weird way. If that's going to make me sound mental, but I know you'll know what I mean.
No, 5 years too late, mate. 5 years too late, that fight.
Yeah, I still think the outcome was the same 5 years ago, but that's...
Yeah, I agree. Last one then, mate. Last one, upset of the year.
Upset of the year. Upset of the year. I'm actually going to go for one right towards the end of the year. Jordan Gill beating Michael Conlan.
That's the one I went for.
And you don't agree.
Yeah, my dog really didn't like that one. Yeah, big Michael Conlan fan, and he just didn't like that. But yeah,
Jack,
I couldn't see that happening. Everyone was saying, "Oh, Conlan's short, Conlan's this, Conlan's that." I was like, he might be, but this won't be the fight we find it out. It'll be the next one.
Yeah.
And when Gill won it, I actually like Jordan Gill, but I just don't like the Teddy, will you shut up? Yeah, good. He likes to have the last word. But as I like Jordan Gill, but I couldn't have seen him winning that. I mean,
Jordan Gill is an absolutely top lad. We've had the opportunity to speak to him a few times on the channel, and he's a brilliant lad, mate. And it couldn't have happened. It couldn't have happened to a nicer lad, to be honest with you.
Very humble and down to earth.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we've covered pretty much tonight, Jack. Obviously, next week we'll be talking in a bit more detail about Callum Smith against Beterbiev. So be sure to jump on if you can next week. Yeah, it's brilliant, mate.
I love that fight, by the way.
It's absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to watch it. I've got to be honest. But I think, Jack, we're going to bring the show, unfortunately, mate, to...
I sit there and go, I'm going to have to change... I change my mind about who wins that every 10 minutes. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is a brilliant fight. I've stuck with my guns. I've said Callum Smith from the start of the moment when this was going to be made.
I mean, I tell you what, there's some interesting stuff that's going to come out in the next few weeks, and I don't know if it's public knowledge, so I won't say it.
I say that every time you're on.
Well, yeah, because I'd rather you didn't get sued. And rather I didn't get sued either.
Well, let us bring the show to an end. You can tell us.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you.
You can tell us, Jack, and then next week it's what we'll lead the show with.
Yeah, that's fine.
Look, you can't sue.
They'll have announced it by then anyway, so it's fine.
If you say allegedly, it gets more trouble, Jack.
Yeah, it might be, Jack. Jack, it might be what we've already said. To be honest with you, I said at the very top of the show. But anyway, you can tell us off here, and I'll tell you whether it was.
If it's to do with Katie Taylor, then it probably is.
Anyway.
Oh no, it's not actually.
Don't say no more, Jack. Don't say no more.
Yeah, before you get sued.
Go on, Andy.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. First show of the year. Again, Happy New Year to everybody that watches the show on a regular basis. We really appreciate your support because at the end of the day, this is all about the fans. So we do this again for everyone that's watching it for the first time. We do this every single Thursday at 7:00. We sometimes do it on a Saturday night after a big card, but our staple one is every Thursday, 7:00. Thanks for everyone in the sidebar for the comments. Jack, thanks for joining us. Carl, pleasure as always, mate. This has been Last Bell Boxing. It's proudly sponsored by LW Liftings and SC Travel, and we'll see you next Thursday.